Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone. For additions to the agenda, we do have Sheriff Clark here to talk about the quarterly contract report. When we signed the contract, there was a clause in the contract that he was going to come back in October to talk about next year's contract and so forth. So he is here tonight for that. All right. This is the public participation portion of our meeting. So does anybody have anything that they'd like to say? Okay, then I'll go on to Chair's remarks. We have quite a meeting here tonight, so I'm going to refrain from remarks and we're going to go right on. Oh, sure, go ahead.
This past week we had, I should say, a founding mother pass away from Vernon, Ruth Atwater. She was a family friend. She was a family friend of a lot of Vernon residents, and I just wanted to give our condolences to the family and thank Ruth for all the years that she gave to all of us. She was a mentor, a neighbor, and a friend, and she will be sorely missed.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion, please, to bring Sheriff's Department up top so that we can not have to make Keith stay here real late and Mark because they both put long days. Everything else we have on the agenda is just housekeeping stuff, so.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we take.
Oh, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Real quick, is there any way to ratify the rec board position? I just had my whole board waiting for me to come back, assuming that I was one of the first ones.
Okay.
If I can't, I completely understand, and I apologize if that's an inconvenience.
No, let's make a motion to do that first.
Madam Chair, I move that we take the Recreation Department first and then the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you very much.
It's been moved and seconded to take the Sheriff's Department up first and then the Rec Department up first and then the Sheriff's Department. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Madam Chair, I move that we appoint Steve Berg for a term of how many years, sir?
He's filling a vacant position. We are actually in the process of researching how long that position is, and that's something I'm going to come back to you guys. Touch base with Katrina, we're working.
Okay.
To fill the unexpired term.
Yep.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Steve Bird to fill the unexpired term on the Recreation Board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Very, very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Seth.
Thanks, Seth.
Keith and Mark?
We need another chair.
Should we take care of the EMT issue first?
Well, we certainly can talk about
Can you
that.
bring a chair
that-
up for yourself?
Does that have to be an executive session?
No, I think at this point, Lieutenant Harrison just wants to give an overview of what we're looking to
Okay.
offer the town.
Sure.
So, in fact,
Excuse me, sir. Oh, here, let me move that one. That works.
People don't want to sit next to me.
I know.
Okay.
Must be the tie.
As you stated, one of the things that we said we would do is come back on a regular basis, quarterly, give you an update of what we've done since we've been here. We did start 1 week early.
We're going to talk about the EMT thing first, though.
I do want to.
Oh, okay. Please.
So I'll turn that over then to Mark, looking at doing EMS service.
So initially when I spoke with you, this was on a much quicker timetable. However, we've slowed it down some just to make sure we do things in a smart fashion. Ultimately, what we're looking to do is start a pilot project which will train our deputies as EMTs. We are responding to a lot of medical calls, which normally we don't in other areas. So we don't have that training other than first responder level training. What we're doing is we're looking to partner with the Vernon Fire Department. I've had a very preliminary conversation with the fire department. Everything sounds positive. But then we need to get training, equipment, and things like that. So one of the things or services we're looking to provide is the EMS training, just to supplement what is already received by the fire department and Rescue Inc. As far as I can tell, it comes with no cost to the town. Everything that we would be able to do, I think we'd be able to fund it through our own methods anyways. And it might come with partnering with the fire department just as far as sharing equipment, such as what we do with AEDs. That's basically it. So that was more of an update than any action necessary.
I figured you'd want to add to it, Mike.
Well, I'm not going to add to it. I just wanted to clarify because this has come up before. When I was the district chair of EMS District 13, have you talked about with the district as far as how you're going to go about licensure and how, as far as the reporting process is going to be? Because having two licensed services, we do it with PY. PY is a licensed service, and the fire department is a licensed service. But we tend to be very separate, whereas they have the fire department and the sheriff's department would be in the same community.
And that's actually where we are working with the fire department. The way it would, in my head, the way it plays out is that we would actually, under the EMT side of things, work directly for the fire department. So it would require the same process of becoming a volunteer firefighter.
Okay, so you'd be under their license.
Yes.
And that's one of the conversations that the lieutenant and I had when we started looking into this, is how we're how we're going to make that work. We have a deputy in Putney that's an EMT. She went through the training and worked underneath the fire department. We have an MOU there. But because here we're looking at doing the entire department for the town, we want to make sure that we fall within the rules. So that's one of the things that slows us down a little bit.
Great.
Good question.
Thank you.
So what do you need from us?
Well, originally we were looking at, the training was starting I think it was last week, and there was a potential for a schedule conflict with when the training was and with who one of the people attending training was going to be. And we wanted to say, is there an issue with the deputy while on duty attending the training on certain days? So most of it we were able to work out, but there were going to be times where we might be responding from the training facility, and that was what we wanted to bring to the board.
Now, let me ask you, Mike, do you have any people that need to be trained that we could maybe have them come here rather, because it's costly for us to send people for training anyway? Would it be, maybe be more?
You'd have to talk to the chief about that, because as not everybody is aware, I've retired from the fire department, and I am no longer responding. I don't do public EMS. I'm still an EMT at the plant, but I got to the point where I had been doing it too long, so you need to talk with the chief. And they're going through that process. But she does have a good point, is that if it could be moved down here, then it would make it a lot easier for the officer to respond. And as I'm sure that there are different places, that whether it's here or like across the street, we can make that happen.
That really would be the smart thing to do if we have enough people that need to be trained, is to train everybody here, have somebody come
Agreed.
here instead of paying for everyone to go there.
Agreed.
And then your folks can just join in the training. It's going to cost us the same one way or another. And then that way they're in town if something does happen. So maybe it's something that you want to check in with Todd.
Yep. Yep, we can do that.
Okay?
So again, as Lieutenant was saying, we're at the very early stages of this, but we think since we're out 24 hours a day, it's a great benefit to provide.
Oh, absolutely.
They're probably a little quicker. And sometimes it's that psychological first aid when someone knows that someone's there, even though you're not providing a lot, the fact that you have some training there, that makes people feel better.
Well, and it really is better for people to have some training. I mean, sometimes just minutes makes a difference in life and death. Absolutely.
So if he was on duty and he came as an EMT, when would he go back? So the other EMTs show up. So would he then pass out and then go back out?
Yep.
Yes.
As being a police officer?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so in much the same way that the EMTs, the local EMTs will pass off to rescue? It would just be that same kind of,
We wouldn't be a transporting agency, I mean,
Right.
in that same sense. And ultimately, it's not so much that we're wearing two hats at once. I mean, that's, as far as I can tell, we can do it. There are agencies in Vermont that do this exact service. There comes areas where we need to develop methods and procedures, but we're talking so far down the road, I haven't thought into it. But that's going to be an ongoing conversation that myself and Sheriff Clark will have, and we'll have more of these answers flushed out.
Used to be that way in Vernon. The police were the first responders. So.
Okay. So have a conversation with Todd and see how we can coordinate it so that we're getting fire people that want to take the EMS trained also. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Keith.
So, I think, Mark, you have a hand now.
I do.
We'll go over this. So, as we said, we come back on a regular basis to sort of, go over how are things going and looking at the call volume. Since July 1st, we've provided we've actually provided 2,284 hours of service. That's 100 hours more than what the contract is for the quarter, but we didn't bill you for that. Those were extra investigations above and beyond. So essentially, you got more hours than what it was funded for. We managed the overtime. We managed that. So we thought it was important just to point that out to you. During that quarter, we had, and most of these numbers, I would ask the lieutenant to go over if you have any specific questions. But there was 435 total incidents. Everything from doing welfare checks to checking buildings. Public speaking engagements, that's like if someone asked us to speak at on the homes or at the school.
Preschool.
Preschool. If you haven't seen it, I love that photo.
I was going to say, does that include when Mark stuffed himself into a kindergarten chair?
But you know what, that's important. That's what the public.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a great
And
picture.
the feedback from that has been great. I love the questions. There's, how come you don't have a lunchbox?
Yeah.
Those are great questions. Leave it to the kids. But those are some of the things that we're doing. Being at, one of the things that you don't see is like being out in front of the school in the morning when the buses are arriving, or in the afternoon when the buses are leaving. I asked the lieutenant to try to manage that and have deputies out there. I think it's important. A small community, very busy in that parking lot. Just that presence, I think, is helpful. So if you look at the left hand, just a couple of quick notes. You'll see that there were 23 arrests based on investigations, and that's a pretty significant amount. Those are, take a lot of time to do. So in between answering other calls, they're still following up those investigations. And those are cases that actually went to prosecution, not ones that were submitted to the state's attorney for review and sent back because they didn't want to take it forward as a prosecution. The next number was concerning enough that the lieutenant reached out to DLC to say, we're seeing really high numbers with our DUIs. The average is about 1.5. It's nearly twice the legal limit. On average, it's actually 0.148. So that's a little concerning. Where are they getting served? Are they being overserved? And I recall there was one like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That was a 156. That's pretty high for that time of day. So instead of us just being reactive, let's find out why is this occurring and can we be proactive to keep it from happening. The average speed ticketed is a little over 15 miles an hour. We didn't print out all the different types of stops, but I did ask the lieutenant to take a look. There were actually only 33 tickets written that first quarter, but there was nearly 400 traffic stops. So we're not writing a lot of tickets because one of the things that we got, or I took from the board when I met with you, is you weren't looking for a lot of heavy enforcement. You were looking for that initial presence, letting people know we're out here at different times. I can tell you one of those stops, because I happened to hear it at 5 in the morning, deputy stopped a car for defective equipment, gave a warning. Turns out that car was wanted by another department, but we didn't know it at the time. But because he had stopped it, we at least knew the general area it was in. So, people say, well, shouldn't you be doing something else? You know what? Those traffic stops lead to solving crimes, and this was a person that had been burglarizing homes and businesses throughout the county.
Wow.
But because we now knew where the car was, and it wasn't even an area where we thought it was going to be, was very helpful to know. So again, Out of those tickets, a little revenue comes back from the town, but from my conversations with the board, that was not a focus of what you were looking to do. You wanted us to get out there, put in that presence, and let people know that they just need to drive safe. So I didn't know, and Mark really is going to be the best person to answer any specific questions you have about any of these numbers.
What agencies are assisted? I mean, you've got 66 agency assists.
That is any agency. Is really what it comes down to. That is supporting. We assisted Wilmington Police Department with a search warrant in town. They had an investigation of a burglary that was actually related to that traffic stop, that we were able to make the connection that the person was here in Vernon.
So these are other police agencies?
Not necessarily. A lot of those are medical assists to the fire department, assists to really any sort of public service agency that says, hey, we need your assistance. It might be assisting the town health officer if they're going somewhere and they say, we have some safety concerns of our own, though I think we might have had that happen once. So it's really assisting that public service.
Okay, thanks. And what's CHINS?
Child in Need of Services. That is where we believe there's an issue with a child's welfare or safety, and that the state attorney's office believes is serious enough that the child needs to be removed from the home, or a court order needs to be created to effectuate a safe environment for the children.
Thank you. You probably
Just
all
a
knew
couple
that.
other ones, because I know that I'm going to get asked. DLS is a suspended driver's license. The smart cards are radar cart. TRO, FRO, those are temporary and final relief from abuse orders.
Say that again?
Temporary and final relief from abuse orders.
What does that mean? Yeah.
The family court has the ability to issue what some people refer to as a restraining order. We call them TROs or FROs,
Okay.
and so we serve those papers on people.
So what would the violation be?
When you violate that order,
Okay.
Duh.
So it looks at look at this, we're 1-for-1. We served it and then they violated it.
They weren't tough enough, huh?
Again, we had, there was one untimely death, which we handled entirely within my department. We didn't need the outside agency to assist with that. One of the things that I know from Mark was, at the start of the school year, there was a bus stop where the school bus was stopping, identified by one of the deputies as being sort of questionable for safety. So they worked with the bus company to find a stop a little further up the road where the kids wouldn't have to walk, they wouldn't be turning a bus around the middle of the road. I think it was near a curve or on a curve. So that's some of the stuff that they're noticing, and I think it's important to let the board know. Again, we didn't have to, wait for something bad to happen. It's like, hey, this just doesn't look right. Can we find a solution? The bus company worked with us to do that.
Sheriff, you indicated that there was approximately 400 traffic stops with 30-something tickets written. What were some of the majority of stops are categorized as for various reasons? I mean, what would be some of the last mark?
The most common ones, stop sign violations, speed violations, failure to carry liability insurance, civilly suspended drivers. So Vermont has 2 license suspensions. One, you receive a ticket. One, you get arrested. So those were the civil versions.
But I mean, those weren't necessarily the reasons for making the traffic stop. That was the end result of the stops.
As far as the 33 tickets, those were obviously end results.
Yeah,
Some of those are observed violations. We see it, we stop them for it. And then in the same sense, I mean, insurance, I don't know, a car doesn't have insurance
Right.
until after I stop it. We didn't have too many obstructed windshields, but that's not uncommon to see.
Something hanging from the mirror.
hanging from the mirror, plastered across it. Not sure if I said it, but defective equipment, vehicles that aren't safe, lights out. No, I'm missing one.
I think initially, from what I recall from looking at the reports, is there were coming in a lot of late-at-night speeding violations because people were not used to enforcement being out. And that's where a lot of warnings were initially issued. Like, oh, you are here now.
So you mean like during the night?
During the night, yeah. 3 to 6 in the morning when they weren't used to having that.
Any
active
presence?
And now that you have that, if you look, that's when the majority of the warnings were issued. Just to look, we're out here now.
Do you find that slowing down now?
Yes. And in fact, it's not uncommon to see cars traveling about 5 miles an hour under the speed limit. Though I'm not really, and none of our guys are really too concerned about the ones who go a couple miles over. I mean, we certainly do suggest that the speed limit is the speed limit. But
Do you ever get concerned about people driving too slow?
yes. Yes, we do. However, the way the law's written, essentially you can drive too slow as long as you allow people to get by you. So we're aware of it. There's a couple in town that do, but for the most part,
Pretty modest speed.
for the most part, usually within 5 miles an hour of the speed limit, people are the average speed is what they're doing.
It's been a very busy 3 months, first 3 months, getting settled in, knowing the community, school starting up. But I think overall it's a pretty smooth transition.
Richard, do you have any questions? Okay, so as you know, it's budget time again. It's amazing how fast that comes along. And I think all of this is so new to people. I think that we probably, and I'm speaking for myself, but certainly want information from the rest of the board, I think we'd probably like to do what we did last year and give us different costs. So people at town meeting can decide how much of a service that they want. Because this is, last year was just let's try this out and see. I hear different things. There are people that think we need 24 hours a day, and there are a lot of people who think we don't need 24 hours a day. So I think that's a decision that should be left to the taxpayer.
Well, the thing is that we have to have a budget figure for our budget, and then they can propose, or we can at the initial budget public meeting and say, to the public that comes, do you want this changed or do you want us to keep? Because if they come in with 250 for a full round, that's just off the top of my head. Then we should put that in the budget.
Can we leave it flat year over year?
You can't.
We can.
You can leave it flat.
That's what I'm saying.
And the townspeople can adjust
Exactly.
it, but it's more work for the treasurer and stuff like that. And, we would hate to do that every year.
We can put
We
it
can
in.
make an an article, right? But, and make an appropriation, but I don't foresee that happening, but you never know. Because it is the townspeople that vote them in, so.
Right.
Obviously, at the special town meeting, there were some different ideas as to level of coverage and service and different dollar amounts. And even the 24-hour that you folks provided was, I think, at the meeting was, let's try this, and more people felt, let's go for 24 hours, that you provided a good price, but there were other people that felt more modest coverage would be sufficient, so.
So what we can do is put in what the voters voted last year,
That's what I meant.
but
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a price, because people are going to ask the question. So rather than to have town meeting come along and have no clue, what 40 hours of service would cover, or what 120, and I think we need to have those numbers.
When would you like to apply?
Well, we're going to start having the
I'm the town attorney, in case you don't know. The contract provides, it says, on or before November 1st, 2014, the sheriff's office will notify the town of the contract rates for the following year.
November 1st.
I was gonna say, we're going to be notifying the departments anyway that we need their budgets. So we're gonna start that process anyhow.
That's a
And I
little
need to-
tight.
No, because I need to start doing all those calculations for all my towns. So every town's going through the same process, so they need to know so they can budget appropriately. So because like any agency, my biggest cost factor is going to be my changes in insurance. What those rates are going to be. I have to guesstimate because the new rates don't come out until 1 December. So, but no, I'll work with the lieutenant. We'll get those to you well before the 1st.
And as I said, it would be helpful at town meeting if, so we don't get caught unaware. If somebody stands up and makes a motion, we need to know what it means.
Absolutely.
So we don't end up having to have a second town meeting this year. That would be very nice.
No, I understand.
Anything else?
No, again, we've been very pleased with the transition. I've been very happy with the reports I'm getting from the deputies and the people in the community. So I think it's gone well. So again, if you have any questions about any of the numbers specifically, Lieutenant can break those down even further if you'd like. If you want the breakdown by reason for the stuff, we certainly can do that.
I think that would be interesting to get.
I mean, at times, we can run all sorts of different numbers. It just becomes a little overwhelming when you look at them all at once. So that's why we tried to kind of narrow it down. But I'm more than happy to do that for you. And as I said, he would do it because I can't run these numbers.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia?
I just would like to thank the department for all that they have done. I have noticed tremendously how everybody's slowed down, and you don't have to have an officer here. They just automatically are driving slower in town, and they're everywhere. Used to be, well, you just watch when you're headed for Brattleboro, but not anymore. They're there, and it doesn't matter whether it's 5 o'clock in the morning or what time. So I just want to thank them. I appreciate it, and I know a lot of other people do too. And also with being able to be with our kids so that they will learn not to be afraid of officers. If they need help, they can say, please help me,
Yes,
And
absolutely.
they're just a community. They make us feel, I think, for the kids and everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I guess we'll have to sign a new contract before, well, I guess that would be right
Before
after
next
town
summer.
meeting. Before next summer, okay.
That can wait until town meeting, correct? Yeah. But they have
I don't know that you
to,
can do it beforehand.
I don't know how we could.
Should we go into executive session with Richard
Yes.
on contractual matter? Do you think we should?
cheat sheet. There's one right next to your left hand.
This is always so difficult.
I
There's
don't
a
know where that
council.
one went.
I don't know.
We had,
There's a council one on
you
this.
and I had one right between us. Did you take it?
Hope not.
I hope not too.
Madam Chair.
Never mind, I
move
got
that
it.
the board go into executive session to discuss
Gotta make a finding.
You gotta do a finding.
the finding, sorry. The finding is to go into executive session to discuss a record or document? What would you think would fall under this? There's no contractual on here.
Yeah, there is.
Yes, it's contractual.
That's
Two at the
under,
bottom
under
here.
2 at the bottom.
The board has to make a finding that
premature general public knowledge.
would place somebody at a substantial disadvantage. Then you move to the executive session.
Okay, I move that find the premature general knowledge, public knowledge of a contractual issue would clearly place the board or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage.
It's been moved and seconded.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wasn't sure if it had to be seconded since it was a finding. I just,
Move it, so,
This is just with the town attorney?
and then the motion is I move the board find that the premature general public knowledge of a contractual issue would clearly place the board or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage.
Where are you getting that from?
Page 2-1A.
I just wish the legislature had something better to do. The motion's been made and seconded.
Who seconded it?
I
That
did.
one? This one?
The first one, the finding one, I seconded.
You seconded the first one, who's the seconding the second?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I just
Vote on the
passed.
first one first.
We haven't voted on the
Vote on
first
the
one yet.
finding.
Oh, I'll second that one, too.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So
Okay.
first
So
finding.
that,
And it's been moved and seconded that the board go into executive session on a premature general contractual matter. The board finds that premature general public knowledge of contractual issues would clearly place the board or the persons involved at a substantial disadvantage. We're going into executive session with the select board and our attorney.
under Title I. Under Title I,
This doesn't say
Section...
that, Title I.
Under Title I, Section 313A.
To Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont State Statutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Did you just...
Did you say aye? Did you really?
Never say aye on a vote.
But you did.
I thought you were going to ask a question, and then I realized you just voted.
I'm really embarrassed.
Well, we wouldn't have known if you hadn't brought it up.
Oh, there's a would have.
This will get easier the more you do it.
It's crazy, trying to figure out what it is, and I think the legislators should have to try to figure out how to go into executive session with this new law. Went into executive session at 7 o'clock, came out at 7:35, no action taken. Okay, a motion to approve the minutes of September 22nd.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes of September 22nd with the correction on page 3. On page 3, under pond, there's going to be a water line, not a wire line. Water, not wire.
I'm sorry, I'm getting two conversations here.
Page 3.
Oh, it's like the 8th sentence down.
Yeah, it should be a water line.
Starts with there is a question, it should be water line, not wire line.
And then after the executive session on page 4, no action was taken, should be.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
So moved.
It's been
Second.
moved- It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of September 22nd as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's get these two other things out of the way, and then we'll do the ordinance update. Okay? Okay, bills and warrants.
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we approve and sign the following bills and warrants. Number 7, SG accounts payable for $1,806,210.88. Number 38, S payroll, $9,264.45. Number 39, S payroll, $7,803.90.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and pay warrants. 7 SG accounts payable, $1,816,210.88. 38S payroll, $9,264.45. 39S payroll, $7,803.90. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. We did get, and I have it in here somewhere. We did get a resolution letter, Richard, from, thank you. Anybody remember what town this was? I think it was Burlington.
It was Burlington.
Burlington is getting together groups of towns to sign a resolution asking for education funding reform in Vermont. Here's the resolution. It's pretty germane. or non-germane, non-threatening.
I think the basis is that the student population is going down and the cost of education is going up.
Okay.
So it's a resolution to ask the legislature to look at a different funding mechanism than Act 60.
So do they want the town of Vernon to join in?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't know.
Want some water?
George Robitussin.
Yeah, where my bottle of Robitussin?
Pretty simple.
There's nothing, nothing improper about this. The town certainly can join in this resolution.
Well, I think it's important for the select board, where the town has really always been against Act 60 funding, to be a part of it.
I would support it.
Okay, motion to support?
I move
So
that we
moved.
support this resolution for sustainable education funding reform number 1.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to support the resolution for sustainable education funding reform in Vermont. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Um, 10-6, right? Go ahead, pass it down. Okay, outside audit and bids. Chris,
Here's your
if you-
pen.
It's your pen.
I know it is.
Here's mine.
If I want to, talk about it?
Yeah.
I don't really, but I will say that Jeffrey Bradley from Rutland, I would like to have done away with because he did not meet the RFP because he did not give a 3-year proposal. So I'd like to see him out. I'm really, and Sullivan, I liked what I saw in their proposal. However, what I have a problem with is the 3 or 4 companies that seem to be, instead, they start off low and they keep going higher every year, where I would imagine, because they got used to the town, that they would start going lower. P-Check is one of them that goes lower, but he started really, really
Yeah.
high. And then the, out of Buxton, Maine, it seems kind of like a long way to travel. I mean, that's out near Old Orchard Beach, isn't it? Somewhere around there. If my geography mind remembers the map pretty well, they seem to be the lowest bidder for $15,000 each year. So, I mean, do we have to go with a lower bid?
No.
Esau and Associates, I'm familiar with them. I served on an organization that used them for 1 year as an auditing firm. And there was a reason it was only 1 year. They weren't prepared to.
No, he's got 3 years. Bishaw does.
No, he said they
he's-
only
I
serve
served.
on another thing
Okay.
for 1
I
year.
served for an organization that
Yep.
used them for 1 year
Oh.
to audit.
They weren't happy.
They weren't really, there's some deadlines that were.
Not many.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
even though they're fairly low, I won't give them a good reference, but that's just my opinion.
And Sullivan and Powers, when I looked at other town reports, they do several other towns in Vermont, and they're also on the list,
Yes.
the VLCT list.
And I was a little upset that that other company didn't put theirs in.
Budget.
This is my brother Larry and my other brother Larry,
Yes.
yeah, that one. I was a little upset that they didn't, because
just maybe
Guilford
pull up.
really gave them,
Guilford did, Putney did.
Yeah.
Well, I think for the difference, mean, I think we should just go with P-check.
Well, that's what I was
The
going to
town.
say. P-check, even though he started high, he does know the
He does,
town.
again, he does come down.
And he's not, I mean, he's only $1,000 more than Sullivan the first
Yeah.
year and less than Sullivan after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And they did, and they were used to working with Sally, and they know our books and everything, so I would have a tendency to go with them as well.
Yeah, and it is good that they're right in town. I think that could make a big difference, because if we have questions or, whatever the process leads to,
okay,
if
motion?
people in town have questions.
Question, comment? I was just curious as to if all of you had time to read all 6 of the bids, because as of this morning, they were not even picked up from your mailboxes. And it took me 2 hours to read them all. Some of them didn't even comply with the dates. If you read on PSHAC's, I won't go into it, but there is something that maybe if you read the whole thing, maybe you would
I
not
thought I did, but
choose.
what was the issue? I may have missed it.
You got a passing with deficiencies for grade, and everybody else got passing.
Okay.
But I don't believe,
But P-check is also the company that the treasurer is very comfortable working with, and he's who we've hired before in the past, and he's always given a good service. So sometimes you have to look at the whole picture, and,
PSHAC charged $36,000 last year.
but they're not charging that this
I
year.
know they're not, but a lot of the deficiencies of stuff haven't even been addressed yet that were pointed out last year. That's not the auditor's problem, but they do not do a lot of municipalities. As Janet said, Sullivan, you look down, they do, I can't remember, but they
4 pages.
They do have a lot of municipalities.
Yeah, they do.
They do a lot, and little ones like Townsend and Newfane and Jamaica and Westminster, and, and they do Montpelier, I think, too, but
Would that be your recommendation, Philip?
I'm not gonna say, because you won't go with one. Obvious.
But it would be my recommendation. And I did come in early to read this stuff over.
Excuse me?
I did come in early to read this stuff over. I've been here for...
Today?
Yeah. And,
I just knew at noon none of them were picked up yet.
We've got all copies over here, too.
Huh?
We've got copies over here, too.
Yeah, all of
You had the
these
copies
were,
at home, didn't you?
Yes,
how did you get copies at home?
because there was extras that came in.
Because you opened the bid.
We were here at the bids, and Susan took the originals up.
I
and
have,
She made the copies.
you know I got the originals, not
Enough.
all of them,
Yeah.
but I got a
But
few.
We're not getting into arguing.
We're not getting into
Yeah, I
this,
got
we're not getting
two
into
originals.
this.
Right.
We are not getting into
No, I
this.
didn't say I had 5. I said I had a couple of originals that I got from you that day.
I make
Motion-
a statement that you
motion
did not
been made.
read them.
I make the motion to go with Sullivan and
Okay,
Powers.
thank you.
Okay. Motion's been made to go with Sullivan Powers. All those are second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to award the bid to Sullivan and Powers. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Katrina, you will contact them, right? Okay. Sandy, thank you.
Who seconded it?
Yeah. Okay, second. Oh, wait, here, Patty, could you pass this down the line? Thanks.
Okay, let's go to ordinances. Ordinance update.
I think that our county attorney's just waiting for a
Person's name.
to contact.
That is the only thing we are waiting on.
That's the only thing that was incomplete in the notice that I provided, was
Yep.
that the law requires there be an individual who's named, who anybody with questions about
With
the
knowledge of the.
amendments to ordinances
And
can
then-
contact. And if you fill in that name, I think it's ready to go.
Yep, it is.
That's it?
But I just didn't know who to put in there. And I can send it off to legal notices.
And you need to move to adopt the amendments.
Yeah.
But
We'll put Sandy's name in, please.
What, okay, yep.
And Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adopt the amendments. The ordinances as amended.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the ordinances as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Where's Mike? He's not here.
Yes, he is. He's right
Oh.
there.
Michael,
Is it my turn already?
it is.
I'm a little behind the audit bid that we set at the time. Can you tell me what the amount was? How many days it was?
Oh, yeah, you can have my sheet if you want.
Do you want the, it's Sullivan Powers and Company, the Mount Period, and it's 19,000 for 2014, 19,600 for 2015, and 20,100 for 2016.
So how does the process work? I didn't realize that it was for three years. I mean, I didn't look at the RFP, so you can just talk a little bit about what we're hiring.
We asked for 2, right? We asked for, in the RFP?
3.
We asked for 3, okay. Go
Yes,
ahead.
for 3. No, I just.
Oh, no,
I
why
think,
don't you explain it to Mike, because I was just moving out of the
No,
way.
she
I have
has
a
it, she
copy
could
of it.
give him a copy of it.
Sure. And talk about like how many bidders there were and why we went with this company, that sort of thing.
They're all on there.
No, he doesn't have that list.
There's
There
he doesn't
was
have that
1,
one?
2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah, that's what
6.
Chris just gave him.
Oh,
No,
that one?
he can have mine. I only wrote
There were
on it.
6 bidders.
Have mine.
That's the list of who there was.
I thought you gave him
Sullivan
yours.
Powers does a
Sorry.
lot of towns in our area. A lot of towns, period.
And I had,
And they are on the VLCT list of auditors, auditing companies.
The point for Mike, that you're going with Sullivan. He put in for 3 years estimate or bid, but town has only approved for 1 year.
right.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm confused. I don't
They're not.
understand what the contract.
They're
Well,
not-
the town can only approve for 1 year because it'll be in every year's budget, so.
Okay. So the number, it's just for the current fiscal year.
For the current fiscal year and in the next year's budget, we will have the new cost in next year's budget.
Because the select board has the right to hire an outside auditor at any time.
Well, and maybe go back, the last question on the topic would be to go back to what we talked about in the spring, was why this process grew out of talking to the other towns.
Yeah, when we, if you remember way back then, when we met with, we broke into twos and we went to other towns. Obviously, we had huge fiscal issues to deal with when we were putting together last year's budget because of the closure of Vermont Yankee. So we started the process by visiting other towns, and that was one of the glaring differences between our town and the other towns we compared ourselves to. They all do outside audits.
I wonder, just on another quick topic, I don't know that I understand the proposal for the sheriff's department, and I'll admit I haven't talked to them directly. Are they talking about an EMT service, a new EMT service in town?
They're talking about coordinating with the fire department and having, not an EMT like Mike would be, because Mike's got a ton of training, but be a first responder to be able to, Mike, why don't you help me with this, in that you...
Well, I think what they want to do is because of the fact that they're first, and it's really frustrating for people, and I can't speak for the sheriff, I can just speak for myself, is that in the past, when people arrive first on scene and they don't have training, that they get pretty frustrated. And since they're coming on scene first, they can provide initial care. And it's, the tough thing is that they're first off, they're a police officer, second off, they're an EMT. So they have to make sure there's a balancing act in the beginning there. They have to make sure that all of the, basically, the law enforcement activities are covered. But if they can render first aid to a patient and still be able to do their law enforcement duties, then it's the best of both worlds. And as soon as Vernon Fire shows up, then they can basically hand over. And if they're coordinating this with Vernon Fire, they know the people, Vernon Fire knows them. They still have to be licensed, and he was talking about becoming an EMT, having an EMT personnel, licensed personnel. And they would be licensed either with their own license or with license to the fire department. And that's just how he said in negotiating that. And I can speak to that simply because we've had
when I was on the district, that had come up with other services, and how do you just negotiate that? So,
But they wouldn't have, well, I guess maybe eventually they could, but they wouldn't have your expertise or your training.
anybody with just putting in the time can get that. And the thing about it that's dangerous is being a licensed EMT is you have to put in the time. You can't just wing it. You have to make sure that you basically have a certain amount of expertise and confidence to be able to work on your own, because it could be a while before anybody else shows up, and you have to have the ability to basically know what to do when and not cause harm to the patient.
Well, don't you have to be trained to take a couple classes to a certain level also before you can actually work on your own anyway?
Well, the thing about it is it comes down to you have the educational process, the book process. Then you develop the street smarts. You have to basically go on calls, and you don't go off on your own. You have to be clear. The fire department has a process, of clearing people to make sure, because when the chief or the head of service signs off on that person, you're saying, I believe this person can do the right thing, and they go off and they do the wrong thing. Guess what? You as head of service are named in the lawsuit. So that's the thing, is you really have to have that confidence in the person that they will do the right thing. The same thing with being a police officer. Know when to apply deadly force and know when not to apply deadly force. So in this case, it's kind of a little bit of role reversal, when to apply the right care at the right time.
So I guess the question I have on that is, what, if anything, is the town's role in any of this? The select board didn't have to do anything tonight. But
I think it was just an update as to what they're looking into, because that will be their responsibility. And Mark's here, he might want to answer.
I didn't hear the question.
Did you hear what I said?
I did hear what you said.
Was I on the mark or was I off?
As much as I heard,
I don't know.
it was
Sorry.
on the mark. Who asked the question?
I was just asking, what's the town's role in this?
Well, first off, we are in a very, very preliminary stage right now. We need to, everything that Mike just said, we haven't even gone to that part yet. So, but the idea is, we're kind of in that big dream stage where we're saying, what do we want to see the service program be? We don't want to become an EMS provider, which is why we want to team up with the fire department that has a training program established, has policies, procedures established, has a reporting system. We want to integrate into that sort of a system. Ultimately, here in Vernon, we want to integrate into the Vernon Fire Department because they have those resources. We're working with the firefighters and the EMTs, and when they say, hey, can you hand me that bag? And I say, what bag? It's better to know that they're going for the airbag or they're going for the IV bag. So it's to provide better service to them, but ultimately, the intent is to be able to work with the fire department to do that. So.
And what's the funding for that, or how does that training, who pays for that for you all?
The sheriff.
And that's not borne by the town, it's in additional funds that are going to be seeking to kind of compensate?
No, our contract is built with our vehicle expenses, our insurances, our benefits, our training, our equipment, everything. So that affects the contract rate, but ultimately the contract rate is the contract rate. It's what gives the town the ability to say, this is how much we're spending, and at least based on the contract we have with the town right now, it's pretty solid. There's really, by my review of the contract, there's really only one way that we can have that amount of money changed. And ultimately that comes down to overtime. If a train crash and we need to bring 20 employees out to deal with a train crash, well, we need to be able to recoup that money. Ultimately that comes from the train company's insurance, but that is done through a process of the town. So that's why we build it that way. But really the $231,624 figure is the cost to the town for this year, whether we do it or not.
Nothing else? We do have one correspondence. This is a project review sheet for a permit that's being given for a daycare in town, so I'll just pass it down rather than everybody can look at it. That's it.
One of the things that Mark just said, I'm wondering how the ordinance is going for reimbursement for emergency services, and whether or not that's gone through, because one of the things he just said is, if the bylaw, an ordinance is out that allows for the compensation for emergency services, and includes Wyndham County Sheriffs, it's an ordinance then that provides additional traction on how you can bill the insurance company.
Right now, we're waiting to get, Katrina's
Yeah,
getting
you asked me
copies
that.
for the other two, and we're getting them to Todd, and he's working on it. He's gonna be working on it.
And it may behoove you to now have Sheriff Clark also look at that, to make sure that the wording incorporates his organization as well. In order, as he just said, a big train crash, when the officers come in, how do you make sure that basically you're going to make sure that that train company pays that, and not us, if they were to fight it. It helps to have it in an ordinance.
That's a good point.
Statewide thing.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair.
Question?
We already had public participation. We're done, David.
Second.
4:06.
It's been moved and seconded to come to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, with the meeting adjourned, there's still 24 people in the room, and there's still